Hello and welcome to our YouTube channel. We're still Arne and Carlos.
And today it's that time of the month when we are going to be doing the Arne and Carlos knitting radio podcast, call it whatever you like. But we are going to be disappearing and you're only going to see some hands doing some knitting.
Yes.
Yes.
And we're making a hat.
We're making a hat. We've got our yarn. We've got 2 balls of blue, merino extra fine from Schahenmeyer. We've got a ball of white. We've got our knitting needle. Now we've cleared the table.
Yeah, so we're ready for making a hat.
We're ready.
Yeah.
And you won't see the result until the end of the video, so you have to bear with us and you have to watch this from beginning to the end while we talk about anything that comes to mind, and at the end of the video there will be a hat. And remember, the pattern will be posted at arnecarlos.com on our blog, so you can go there afterwards. So
see you in an hour or two.
And let's just start casting on.
Yeah. Okay. So now we're making the hat in the thick yarn. Actually, we changed the yarn into the merino extra fine 40,
which is a bulkier, chunkier yarn.
Yeah. So this is it will go quicker.
Yeah, that's the reason. We were going to do the hat in a 120, but we realized that we wanted to do a hat in an hour and a half. So it's better to do it in this thicker, chunkier yarn. So we just redid the pattern very quickly. And yeah, it's going to take a little bit less of time. I think maybe about an hour and a half if we're lucky.
Yeah, hopefully. And
the way we build the hat is that we cast on the stitches onto the needle. And then we're going to knit 3 rounds of rib, so 2 knit, 2 purl. And when we have done the 2 knit, 2 purl rib, we will do the chart that you can see on the screen. And then we'll decrease at the top, and hopefully we'll have a hat.
Yeah.
And three rows of knit and purl plus the cast on row.
Yeah,
so that would be...
We do the long tail cast on, so when you count your rounds, it looks like 4. But it is actually 3.
Yeah, and 3 is pretty good for us on this project because we wanted the ribbing to go very quickly. If you want to do a longer rib, of course, please feel free to do so. You could do 6 rounds instead of 3. That would also look really nice. It's up to you, really. Now, if you are really worried and thinking, oh my God, they're talking so quickly and they're not, you know, I don't even have time to write this down. Don't worry about it. It's all on the blog. Just go to arnecarlos.com. You'll be able to download the chart. You'll be able to read the written pattern. We are writing everything you need to know of materials, how many balls of yarn you need, the needles that we're using. And we might be talking about this, you know, casually now, because this is not really a tutorial, is it, Arne?
No.
No. This is
just
what...
watch and listen.
And enjoy. So
and
what are we calling this?
I mean... It's like a podcast with picture?
Yeah, or a knitting radio.
Knitting radio?
Or a slow TV.
Slow TV?
You know, Norwegians invented the concept of slow TV. There's the one where you watch fire burning in the fireplace for 24 hours, which is a lot of fun. Then there's the one where they strapped a camera on the train, and the train was going in the beautiful Norwegian landscape for like a week, and that was on TV for a whole week, 24/7.
Also one about knitting.
Exactly, there's the 24-hour knitting one. Yeah. So this is our version of slow TV. What we want to achieve with this is a relaxing, friendly conversation. Get to know each other better.
And hopefully we're not using 24 hours on a hat.
1.5, I think.
Yeah.
So what we want to suggest you to do is just go grab yourself a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, or pour yourself a glass of wine, if that's the time in your time zone where you can actually do that without feeling a guilty conscience. Find yourself a favorite spot where you can sit down. Grab your knitting. You probably have a basket or a little box or something with your knitting there. Just grab that, or your crochet if you're crocheting, or if you're embroidering, pick up your embroidery. And, you know, keep an eye on the screen. Listen to us if you want. Knit, crochet together with us. If you're too busy right now, if you have loads of chores to do, maybe you're cleaning the kitchen or something, or cooking, and maybe you don't have time to see what we're doing, but maybe you can still listen to us, and this way feel like you're in the conversation. Isn't that a good idea, Arne?
That's a good idea.
And that's the goal with our podcasts. It's all about an enjoyable 1 hour and a half where we talk about everything and anything. Of course, we will reference the hat from time to time, talk about knitting, talk about techniques. But you know, we've had an interesting day so far, and we're going to tell you a little bit about it later. And that's the way it is. So this is not a tutorial. And also, I want to say this as well quickly and very practically. Look at the screen and you'll see on the upper right hand side, you've got an information icon. And if you click on that, you will get all the tutorials that we have done that are in connection with this hat. So if you're wondering about how to knit the Norwegian way, how to purl the Norwegian way, how to control your tension, you've got those video tutorials now linked on your screen, and you can go and watch them later. So don't really think about, oh my god, Arne is knitting in such a weird way. What's he doing? Oh, it's so fast I can't see it. Don't think about it now. Just enjoy this podcast and then go on to the other tutorials later on to see it in detail and in slow motion. Isn't that a good idea?
That's a good idea. So I think you can slow down this one also if you want to see like clearly,
yeah, but
then we probably talk slower.
Yeah, if you slow this one down, we're gonna
talk like this.
Yeah, that's not gonna be fun. Don't slow this one down. Just go to the other
one.
tutorials that we've linked and just take this as a 1.5 hour of enjoyment, of relaxation. And, you know, quality time, fun time. Radio's great. I love radio. It's my favorite medium. Probably because I can't stop talking. I talk so much.
No, it's good. Then you can do the talking and I can do the knitting.
Yeah, but people want to hear from you as well.
Yeah, I'm still here. So, and this rib is quick because it's just those 3 rounds. So,
yeah.
Like in a few minutes, I will change the needle. And when I change the needle, I also changed color. So the first blue line in the diagram, that's where I change needle.
And I think that when you're talking about changing needles, that's a good first point to start with. I mean, if we're going to do a little bit of knitting talk,
let's do some knit talk.
Yeah, let's do some knit talk. And let's start about the whole changing needles and explain to you why we do it.
Yeah, because if you make the rib and the stockinette with the same needle, the ribbing tend to be a little bit looser in the tension than the stockinette. So if you do it with the same, you will have a bigger rib. And that's why we make the rib with a smaller needle than the stockinette.
Yeah, so in this case...
So it shrinks.
Yeah, so in this case, needle 7 for the rib and then needle 8 for the stockinette. Yeah. And what will happen is that the rib will pull inwards a little bit and keep its elasticity better.
Stick more to your head, kind of.
Yeah, stick more to your head. So it's a good rib. And you're all seeing the Norwegian purl now, which is the purl that we do. And this one you can see in slow motion in one of our other videos where we demonstrate it. Let's not talk too much about the Norwegian purl, but we can say that the good thing about a Norwegian purl is that by doing it this way, we don't have to keep moving the yarn either towards us or against us, as you may do with other yarns, because we purl it that way. The yarn is always in the same place, and
actually,
you don't move
the way we do it, we don't move the finger. Like we just pick the pearl from the finger.
Yeah, and the yarn is always against us, not towards us.
Yeah. Some people, like in Norway, there are like 2 different ways of doing it. I think most people do it like we do, and some people, they like to move the yarn towards them. Yeah. Like they lift the yarn over the needle and then they purl that way. So, but we don't do. We tried, but if we purl that way, it's like the needle is like in the way all the time. So we prefer to have it constantly on the finger. Yeah,
so we find it to be the easiest way for us. And please, I mean, everybody, just remember that there is no right way, there's no wrong way. There's so many different ways of doing anything. I mean, not only knitting, but anything. And focus on the end result. Focus on, you know, what you achieve in the end, and be proud and happy of that. And, you know, never mind how one does things. It's not that.
But if the result looks good, you know that you're doing it the right way.
Exactly, your way. You're doing it the right way, your way, and that's the main thing. Enjoy it, and just be proud of what you can achieve. And yeah, there's many different ways, and we're always open to learning new ways. I think a lot of people are. So even if we don't knit a certain way, it's still interesting to learn how they do it. And then we can, make our own sessions afterwards, whether it's something we'd want to do or not. We also like this podcast because it's a great way for us, we're talking about a project, and it's fun to see it evolve and grow. This is literally growing from your hands, Arne, isn't it?
It's kind of fun with the thick yarn because it's growing quicker.
Yeah. And if you're looking at it right now and it's going fast, it's not because it's been fast forwarded quickly. It is the speed that Arne knits in at the moment. So a bulky, chunky hat will probably take 1.5 hours to complete, and that would be a normal time for this.
So now it's time to change.
Yeah, wow, you see, I mean, here we are talking about all sorts of ribbing and all sorts of things, and suddenly you've done the ribbing, and we're on to the hat.
So we do the first blue.
And that's where the chart comes in. If you look at the chart, it's only a small part of the chart, because we know that this is being repeated several times.
So, and on the blog we will also show the pattern in, like the diagram, but we also do the written thing. But if you're an experienced knitter, you probably just knit from the diagram. So when you just use the diagram, you just knit what you see on the drawing 4 times.
Yeah, but I think that for this, I mean, it's an easy pattern to multiply on Illustrator, Arne. So let's be like really nice today.
Should I just do it 4 times?
Yeah, let's make it all 4 times and make it easy for everybody. I think that it's a nice thing to do, isn't it?
So like no confusion.
Yeah. So go to our website arnecarlos.com, select blog from the menu, and you'll enter the blog, and from there you just type the word hat, and the hat pattern will magically appear.
Yep, but there's also another hat. Don't you have 2? This is the second
Well,
hat.
but the thing with the search engine is that it catches words. So if you type the word hat, you get 2 or 3 patterns coming up, and then you can see the photograph that will probably be a photograph that is related to the image that you're seeing on this screen, and therefore you will know. And then you know what? If you haven't seen the other hat pattern, maybe you like that one better. And then you say, I want that one instead. And then you're going to do that. We've been doing this blog now for 2 years. It's connected to all our patterns, and it's connected to all our tutorials. So, originally we did like 1 tutorial, and then we put the pattern, and then the second tutorial, and so on. And in the beginning there weren't many patterns, but now we're getting a huge catalog of patterns on the blog, and therefore you need to search and you need to do some work. You can't sit there passively and expect them to pop up, because there are so many now.
You have to look for them.
Yeah, and what we've done is we've written a guide how to search for patterns, and if you go to our blog, that's the first thing you'll find is that guide, and you go into that guide and it shows you 2 different ways for looking at patterns. I know that some people, might want to think that, or think that why don't we just link directly to the pattern? Why don't we make it easier for you guys? But I personally believe we're already making it real easy for you. We're giving you free tutorials, we're giving you free patterns, and if you really want it, I think you should work for it a little bit. This is me being a little bit cheeky, I think, but yeah, if you want our patterns, you're gonna have to put in a little bit of work. Just get in there and type the word, and I don't think it's going to be so difficult. You will find them there, and they'll be there for as long as you want. I mean, they're probably going to be there forever. So enjoy it, and as I said, you look for something, and then you end up finding something else that you prefer. So there is good things to having to work for this a little bit as well, as opposed to just getting it all, served.
You better work.
You better work.
You better work.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah.
Should we tell a little bit about what we did this morning?
Yeah, but before that, maybe we should just tell them about the first row.
The first row? Yeah,
because you've just changed your needles and you've done the first row.
And now I do 1 gray and one blue.
Yeah, but usually what I meant was usually when we design a pattern in 2 colors, it's always nice to do the first row in 1 solid color.
It's a little bit harder to change needle and knit and do color work at the same time. So it's always nice to have one round in one color when you change color. Or
so Arne removed or changed needles by just knitting in the blue in stockinette with the larger needle, and now it's easy to do the pattern.
And when we do this color work now, it's like sometimes I have the gray on the finger, sometimes the blue, and it kind of depends on which color is the more or what's more convenient. But also if the yarn starts to twist a little bit, I can always change one color to change the colors to the finger. So it doesn't matter if the blue comes from left or right, it can come from anywhere.
Yeah. So this is the Norwegian way that you're seeing on the screen. If you've never seen this before, if you don't know us, if you haven't followed us before, you might find it a little bit bizarre and strange if you are not from Norway. But this is the traditional Norwegian way of knitting color work. And as I said before, you can find more information on the screen by clicking on the information icon. And this is a traditional way. It's been the way we've done it for a very long time. And in Norway, luckily, we have long traditions with knitting that have been passed from generation to generation. We are a typical knitting country in the north of the world, so it's cold here in the winter and we have a lot of sheep and we need items in wool, so we've been doing this for a long time. Hundreds of years.
And when I learned this color work from my grandmother, she said if I wanted, I could always put both yarns on the finger and pick directly from the finger both of the colors. But if I couldn't hold my tension, I shouldn't pick both yarns from the finger. So that's why I let one go and I throw the other one, because it's easier to control the tension on both of them.
Yeah.
When you throw one of them, because we like to have nice tension.
Yeah, and we've done a few. We've taught a few workshops in America. And we met a lot of people who struggle in America and with color work because it's not something that they have done for as long as we have done in Norway. And so when we have classes, we try to show people different ways of trying to keep the tension. And for many new beginners, but not all, this is a good way. We've experienced that this way is really good. It helps you control the tension better, and but then again, you always have those that want to knit in different ways, and that's also fine. But if you're attempting color work for the first time and you're finding it difficult the way you're doing, if you're finding your tension to be uneven, and if you want to try it in an alternative way, we highly recommend you to give this a go and see if this is the way for you.
And we've been around a lot, and we met a lot of people who really struggle because some people twist the yarn around one yarn around the finger on the right hand, and they twist one yarn around the finger on the left hand,
and that's a really difficult
and then
way
the
to
yarn
knit.
comes in from right and left, like when they need it. And that's when people struggle with tension, because one of those colors get looser. And this way you don't have that problem. So, and for many people, it's actually, they say that we are almost changing their life when they get into how we're doing it, because it's more relaxing. It's like you don't have your finger pointing up in the roof all the time. Because then it's really tiring, that people tell us.
And instead
we don't know because we don't do it.
No, so. Instead what we're doing is we are keeping the distance from the yarn and the finger and the needle the closest possible. So there's really no distance. You're not going anywhere with your finger, your needle, and your yarn. You're relaxing your finger on the needle. The yarn is over the finger, and then you're picking the yarn from the other needle. And this is creating a very relaxed environment in your hand, where you're resting your finger, and your tension is actually in between the finger, the yarn, and the needle. So as long as you keep that hand on the needle relaxed, you'll be fine. And that's the problem a lot of people have with keeping the finger up in the air and the yarn wrapped around it, is that they tend to, after a while, your finger kind of tends to lock itself up there. It gets tired. It gets, cramped, and you struggle because you need to unwrap the yarn and rewrap it all the time. That can be very, very tiring.
Have you seen people who knit like, if you knit on a circular and you have like hundreds of stitches and you knit with the yarn wrapped around your finger, you have to wrap it again and again and again. It's like a constant wrapping. But if we do one color on a big circular, the yarn stays in the hand all the time, so we don't have to readjust it.
Yeah,
Often, because it's kind of always there. So it's the tension is more in the way you hold the yarn. So if you loose, you just go down a needle, and if you're tight, you go up a needle. So you don't have to think about how you hold it that much.
Yeah. And now I'm sure that we've got a few listeners. They're listening to us, and they're saying, "Yeah, but I do it that way, and I have really good tension." And we're not addressing. We're addressing people who struggle right now.
We're not talking about people with good tension. We're
then
talking about the people with problems.
Yeah, and now when we talk about the people with really good tension, when they're doing it with one finger in each hand up in the air and the yarns wrapped around each finger, and they're knitting that way. What I want to say to you, if you have really good tension and do it very well, the only thing we can say to you is congratulations. You belong to that, the very few percent of the really, really good and talented knitters. And we mean that. It is the most difficult way of knitting, in our opinion. And if you master it without having problems with tension, it means that you are very talented at what you do, and you're good at holding, because you're good at keeping even tension on two separate hands. That is a real talent.
And if you're a Norwegian knitter and listening to this, or if you're a Scandinavian knitter, you probably know that like in our countries there are the tension is like the most important thing with knitting. Mm-hmm. So if you give a knitter a good compliment, you can always brag about their tension, or give them compliments. It's like, oh my God, you have great tension. Yeah,
your tension is phenomenal. All your stitches are even. That will be the best compliment you can give to Norwegian.
Your knit looks like it's machine made.
Oh my God, I can't believe how machine made that knit looks.
And then you said that, and then we're very modest.
Yeah, so a Norwegian will probably.
Okay, you can be the person who give compliments, and I can be the Norwegian.
Okay, so but now we're pretending, okay? Yeah. It's not Arne and Carlos anymore. It's,
we're like other people.
It's, what are they called? Is it Sven, Ole and Sven?
Ola Kari.
Yeah, but how do they say in America? There is in the Norwegian community there. Is it Sven or Ole?
I don't know.
Well, anyway, it's two other guys. It's not us. So I'm Sven and you're Ole.
And then you're like impressed.
Okay, so I look at your knitting now and I say, oh my God, Ole. Wow, that knitting is incredible. It's phenomenal. You have such good even tension. I can't believe what you're doing. It's really good. It looks almost machine made. It's incredibly good.
Oh, you're embarrassing me, kind of. Then this was me like the Norwegian one. No, please, I'm not that good. And then I would put my knitting down, and then I would look for the stitches that are a little bit looser, and then I would point at those stitches and show you which stitches are the bad stitches.
So Ole is probably somebody who is 80 years old and has been knitting for 70 years old and who has perfect tension, but Ole will still find a stitch that is not very nice at the moment because he needs to pull it in a little bit from the inside. And then you'll point at that.
I will point at the bad ones, and I will complain and excuse me because my tension was a little bit loose on these two. But then I will say, but I can fix it later. And that's what we do. We fix it later. Yeah. Then we just turn it inside out and we pull the string on the back until the stitch looks perfect. And then when you steam it, it's gone.
So that's a Norwegian way of replying. It's supposedly a very humble feet down on the earth. You're supposed to say, no, I'm not good at anything, and oh, thank you, but no. And then you're supposed to show the imperfections that in your work, and that's the way to do it. So now you know how to react if you're in Norway and somebody commends you for your wonderful knitting. Remember, feet on the ground, and remember, apologize and be a little bit embarrassed and shy, because Norwegians are very shy. Yes.
Normally.
Normally. So, okay, so we were going to talk about our day today, and then we started talking about all this knitting, which is fine because we're on radio now and we can talk about whatever we want. And that's the beauty of radio. People are listening to us. They're finding their rhythm. We are in our rhythm in our knitting, and we're talking about all these things. And at the same time, the project that we're doing is growing. And as we're talking, we're creating these images in your head. So you're kind of seeing all these images of all the things we're talking about. Probably you saw what Sven and Ole look like in the images that we presented to you. But yeah, let's talk about our day today. It's been a very dramatic day. In a way.
In a way.
In a typical nothing happens where we live
like,
kind of way.
We have no life kind of way.
Yeah.
Because this morning the electricity was gone.
Well, at 4 in the morning.
At 4 in the morning, and the dog wake us up because I guess she heard the computers
I think
went on and off and on and off.
I think the thing is we have a super dog, and our super dog, her superpower is that she can tell when the electricity is gone in the middle of the night. And that's what she did. She came and started whining outside the door, whining quite a lot. And we knew that she was worried about something, that there was something wrong. And it was at 4:15 in the morning. And what she was telling us was the electricity is gone.
And it has gone many times this winter because we have so much snow.
Yeah.
It's snowing like crazy.
In this particular instance, though, at 4:15 in the morning, when you're in bed, under your very nice duvet, nice and toasty because it's nice and warm under the duvet, and it's dark anyway, and you want to sleep, you don't even care about electricity at that point. I mean, it's like, let me sleep now, we'll deal with it when we wake up.
But then the dog wants to have contact.
Yeah, she didn't stop. She kept going, and she kept going, and apparently there was something really wrong with not only us, but everybody, all the other 24 people who live on top of this mountain. So all our whole community of 24 houses, they all had a power break.
Yeah, and a lot of those houses are empty.
Because they're cabins.
There's no people in those houses.
So electricity was gone from 4 in the morning until about, was it 11 or
11
10?
or 10, 11?
10:30. Yeah. So quite a long time, very unusual.
It was like in the old days.
Yeah.
This morning we had to put the fire in the fireplace and heat the water on the oven, the wood oven.
Yeah, we had to put firewood in all the stoves.
That was kind of nice also.
And then we had to go get snow from the outside, put it in a big pan, and then put that on the burning fire stove.
So we have some warm water.
To wash our hands and to brush our teeth.
At least we have snow, so we can melt the snow if we don't have electricity, because the water goes.
And then Arne became all nostalgic on me. He was talking about how we don't appreciate the simple things in life anymore, how everything's so quick now, how we're always in front of, the internet, doing Instagram and Facebooking on our mobile phones, and how
we don't have time anymore.
Yeah, and how we expect everything to go by its own, kind of like power. Where does power come from? Oh, we don't care as long as we have it. We have underfloor heating. Everything's, very high tech in our house. And suddenly you lose that and you go back to these kind of simple things. And Arne kept going about it. And you're right. You're absolutely right that there is something very, very charming about, having to go out, having to light the fireplaces, having to go out, get the snow, heat the snow to wash yourself, and then boil the tea from the other drinking water that we have, but put it also and use wood to burn, to make heat to boil water.
So that was really nice this morning, because I lit the candles in the kitchen, and then I was sitting in front of the fire waiting for the water to boil while I was reading. And that's something I haven't been reading with candle lights for a long time. That was something we did when I was younger.
Yeah.
Especially when we lived up in the mountains. And what's it called on the oven? We have this. The two of the places where you can cook, it's like this quick thing. What's it called?
Oh, yeah. Oh, gee, yeah, that's...
You press the button and then it's boiling in like no time.
Yeah, we have this induction cooktop.
And it's called
and you
the
put
speed thing?
Yeah, you press it twice, and then it just boils water in like a half a minute.
It's like you put the kettle on and you just turn around for a second and it's boiling. And that was kind of cool to remember that it didn't work that way on the oven.
Yeah, water takes a little longer.
I could
to
actually
warm,
read
to
a
warm
lot
up.
of a lot of pages.
Yeah, so we were very old fashioned. We felt like we were in, I don't know, Downton Abbey or something in a way,
Yeah.
but without all the servants who make everything for you. This was us having to do everything from scratch this morning. And yeah, I kind of agree with you, Arne, that it is nice to go back to those simple things and to just enjoy being in it at that moment. But I have to say, I was glad when the power came back on. I was so glad, because I was worried. I was worried. Okay, so the stuff in the fridge, the delicate stuff, we had a lot of fish there. There's a lot of salmon in there because we're in a salmon period now. We eat a lot of salmon. And we were able to take all of that and put it in the greenhouse, which is quite cold right now.
And did you bring that back to the fridge?
I did, yeah. I put it back in the
because
fridge.
I forgot it.
No, I remembered. So that was, we had to do a lot of things this morning. Take the salmon out, put it inside the greenhouse to keep it cool so that it didn't spoil. Do all the boiling of the water and all that stuff. And then, everything by candlelight because it's still dark here. And yeah, everything from kind of the old style way.
And to make this video we couldn't because we didn't have electricity, so we went skiing.
Yeah, because once we had done everything and once we'd heated up the house with firewood, we realized that we could do two things. Either we could wait for the power to come back, and that can be annoying because then it will take longer. It will feel like it takes longer because you're going to be walking around thinking, I want the power to come back. Or you could go do something else. And we chose to go skiing because there's been a lot of snowfall last night, which is the reason why everything got... that's the reason we have power cuts right now, because the snow has been falling on the electricity poles, and I think that maybe some trees have... stuff happens.
It's the branches, I guess,
Yeah.
who fall down on the electricity.
And because we live in a tiny community where there are 24 houses in this area, which I learned today because I was able... Yeah.
That's cool, they have this app.
Yeah, they have an app that you can use on your phone because our phones were obviously working and the 4G was working. So there's an app and we could go in the app and see that there were 24 houses that had power cut for 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 hours. I don't even remember now how much it was. But all these houses with power cut, you can see that in the app. You also realize what a small community we are.
Yeah, because some of these houses are empty. There haven't been people living in them for many years. And some are cottages.
But the cool thing, anyway, let me get back to the cool thing. The cool thing was that because it is a small community and there are not many roads, the electric company who owns the whole thing, they have to go on scooters to get to places. And we realized that this morning that, because it was a beautiful morning, we realized that, wow, it's quiet, everything's clear, and now there's fresh tracks because of the scooters, of the people who are going there to repair everything. So let's go skiing and let's see if we can find a new track somewhere.
So it was a very nice morning for skiing, actually.
And we did find a track that we'd never done before.
But I don't know who's doing this because we had the electricity people, they're driving around with their scooters, and there's another guy, he's driving around. So suddenly we have new tracks that we've never been...
So what happened was we started out on the railway because we live in a railway station where there are no trains anymore, and usually the skiing circuit that we do, it starts on the old railway tracks because they are always done for that. So we started there, and then when we came down, I mean we've been going for like 40 minutes. We realized that the circuit that we do wasn't available because of all the snowfall, and then there was an alternative way that took us to the left instead of the right. We went down that for a little bit, and then there was another turn to the left, and that we've never done before. So we said, let's go into some uncharted territory. And then we started going downhill, and that's where the fun began, because it just was phenomenally fun with all these curves, and it was just going down and down and down, and new snow.
And you were like crazy. You were like screaming like, this is so fun.
Oh, I love going downhill fast. Telemarking.
Yeah,
telemark
you
style.
did this telemark thing. I didn't know that you had that in you.
I know. I didn't know that either.
So you were so good. It's like they say you can't learn all dog new tricks.
You mean
that?
teach?
Teach a new dog. No, you can't teach all dog new tricks.
Oh.
But you learn new tricks. Not that you're an old dog.
Oh, thank you.
But you learn new tricks all the time.
You just call me old.
Yeah, but I think you were good.
Well, yeah. I mean, I wasn't born with skis on my feet.
No, you were sure.
As all Norwegians have. But I have lived here for some, Norway is my home, and I feel very Norwegian, and I have been living here most of my adult life. So,
you practically speak Norwegian now.
So I can say that I'm adopting all the Norwegian things, and if you say that I'm a good skier now, I feel like I'm almost 99% Norwegian now.
Yeah, you are really good.
And it was fun. I mean, we had so much fun, but then Arne has to be the party pooper, because he is the very down-to-earth Norwegian who is always so reasonable and so sensible. So we keep going down and we keep going down, and I say to Arne, I don't want to stop. I want to go, I want to go, I want to go. And suddenly Arne says the very wise words, but Carlos, you have to remember that everything we go down now, we have to go up.
Yeah, and that's the horrible thing, because I started to think about food. And you know, like you're in the middle of nowhere, and we didn't bring the backpack with water. We didn't have any nuts or chocolate. We didn't have anything.
And by that time, we've been going for 1 hour, Arne.
It felt like 3 hours.
Yeah, but it was 1 hour, and I don't think we would have starved to death on that 1 hour.
Oh, you never know.
Well, yeah, Arne started freaking out because he had no food. And then he said that on purpose to make me want to turn around.
Yeah, we didn't know where we ended up. We could end up in China or somewhere. It was really...
No, not China, because that would have been the opposite way. Maybe North Pole.
Yeah, but anyway, that's far away. And no food. That's the problem.
So anyway, and then I thought, oh God, he's right about it. Now we're going to have to go up. And it's probably going to take 3 hours to get back to the tracks where our railway is. But because it's new snow, it was new snow that fell yesterday, and then the scooters had just gone there freshly, and then so it was a little bit sticky. The snow was sticking a little bit to our skis, and it meant that we didn't have to go up doing the herringbone, the fish pattern, where you actually point your toes towards each other and you walk up like a penguin of some sort. No, we could go straight up, just kind of running, but with our skis on.
And I was so lucky. You can imagine, I was so lucky it wasn't slippery, because then I would have been... Oh, that would have been...
Yeah, terrible. It wasn't slippery at all. So we were kind of running, but we had our skis on, and we were kind of lifting our skis and kind of running in a way. Up, 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 up. And then after like 30 minutes, we were back on track again, where we had started going downhill. So it wasn't the end of the world. And then we came back, so... We have a debate now, whether it was 3 hours or 2 hours. I don't remember, but let's do a compromise, okay?
Yeah.
2.5 hours?
2.5, okay. I you know what I think we should do? We should finish the hat, and then we should take another tour this evening.
I think so too. And you know what? We do feel invigorated now. I feel like I have so much energy after this skiing trip. I mean, we've been back for, I think, an hour now. When we got back, the power was back on, and then we decided now we'll do this video and get it done, because it's been on our mind for a long time. And I feel that trip, those 2.5 hours in the outdoors, moving my body, it's really, and yours as well. You've been moving your body, and it's just incredible how much energy you release, and how invigorated and how good you feel afterwards.
And your head is so
clear. So this is something we want to recommend everybody to do. I mean, make sure that whatever you're doing, especially if you have a job, or especially if you sit down and are sitting down for a long part of the day, make sure to move your body a little bit. If you don't have skis tracks like we do, maybe you have a nice area where you can take your dog for a walk, or maybe you're into biking and you can take the bike down to the store to buy some groceries or something. Or maybe you like walking. Maybe you're in a big city and you enjoy walking. Walk down to the museum, even if it takes an hour, and just move your body, clear your mind. Or if you're into gardening like we do in the summers, go out and dig in the dirt and clear your mind and relax yourself and move yourselves. And I think a lot of people complain that, you know, their arms are painful and their hands are painful. And I think it's very important to take those breaks and do something different. And I think it's important to move. Everybody should think about that you should try moving more, and you should do it. Maybe an hour a day would be good. And I'm saying this to everybody, but I also mean for our own sake, Arne, because it's not always that we do this.
No,
and we should.
Sometimes we spend a lot of time inside.
Yeah, and
indoors.
we should move more. Mind you, this time of the year is the time where we are the fittest, because not only are we skiing a lot, we are shoveling snow like maniacs.
I like that. I think shoveling snow sometimes is really nice.
It is, yeah.
It's like we can do new paths in our garden.
Now we're walking.
Kind of nice.
Now we're walking in our garden. Because we've shoveled a path to our greenhouse. We've shoveled another path to another little house that we own on our property. And now, because of all the snowfall, we have about 6 feet of snow. And it feels like those little, you know, those little ant labyrinths, you know, where you have these ants walking, and then you can put, I think there's glass on it, and you can see the ants moving in these labyrinths. That's how I feel we are. And then there are these giants that are
We're
looking
like
down.
ants.
Yeah, they're looking down at us, and we're walking on these labyrinths where we can't see out. We can only see ahead. And if we look to the sides, there's just snow. And then if we look up, there's heaven.
Sometimes it's a little bit claustrophobic, almost.
Yeah, but I like it. I think
That's why I like to make new paths and move the snow around.
Yeah. And look at this. I mean, we're having this conversation, talking about skiing, and suddenly you've got more than half your hat done.
Yeah, because this pattern is kind of easy, because it's like there's no twisting.
And there's a rhythm.
There's a rhythm in it, because all these X and O's from like the traditional Norwegian patterns, they are kind of easy, because you have this rhythm, because they're all based on, like, it can be like 3 2 1 1 1 2 3 2 1, or it can be 1 1 1 1 2 2. It's like
a mantra.
It's like a mantra.
It's you know what? It's meditation. It's real meditation. This is what I think a lot of people, they go to, say you're into meditation, and you take you go to India, right? Mm-hmm. And you meet a guru, and what you want is to achieve peace. And then the guru tells you that you have to recite a certain mantra. You know what I mean? Like you have to say something.
Yeah, you can say this. You can say this. You can read the knitting pattern.
Yeah, you can look at a pattern, and then you can read that. 1 1 1 2 1 3 2 2, and then you have that mantra, and then you can start reciting it in your rhythm and knitting at the same time. And then we've saved you tons of money, because now you don't have to go to India anymore.
No, you can do it at home. And like now I'm like in the 1 2 2 1 1 1 2 2 1 2.
Okay, let's not. You know, if we keep saying that, people might fall asleep. Because it's so relaxing.
But you know, when I was a kid, I did a lot of these traditional sweaters, and like in the evening, it was really hard to stop knitting, but I had to go to school the next morning, and then my parents said, "No, Arne, you have to go to bed and put that knitting down and go to bed, because you have to get up early in the morning." And then I took my knitting into the bedroom, and when they turned the light off, I just pulled my knitting up, and I was knitting in the dark, because I remembered where I were in the pattern, so I could just do this rhythm. Mm-hmm. So then you can knit in the dark if you know the pattern.
Yeah. Now let's go back to a little bit about talking a little bit about what we're doing on the screen. Now, you might be wondering, what am I doing? Am I just sitting here? And I can say, yes, I'm just sitting here, but I'm also untwisting Arne's balls, because he's knitting with two balls. There's a blue one and a gray one. And I'm kind of helping him untwisting them, because...
And thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're very welcome.
Because we made a hat in this yarn. First we made a hat, and we used the tension and the size we want. But the yarn is so thick, so when we put the hat on, it expands. It
expands, yeah.
Expands. It became so much bigger, so we had to reduce the stitches.
Yeah.
Because of the elasticity.
Yeah. So we had to unravel the whole hat and start again. And when you unravel the hat, everything gets,
Gets
curly,
twisted.
curly and twisted.
Yeah.
So I'm helping out now because we only had these balls of yarn. And
So if you think that my yarn is really nicely on the table, it's because
it's
Carlos is on the
it's
other
an
side.
illusion.
It's an
It's
illusion.
an illusion, and I'm actually doing something
You're
here to
so
help you.
good. Yeah.
Now, that's a question we get a lot. People ask us that a lot. How do you avoid 2 balls of yarn from twisting when you're knitting color work? That's a problem, because when you're knitting color work, you're knitting with 2 colors, and no matter how you hold the yarn, there will always be some twisting of the yarns that you have to untwist
But
one
it's
way
not
or
a big
another.
problem when you knit this way, because if it's twisted too much, like when I use the yarn, the gray yarn on the finger, and the blue is loose, I can just switch, and then I switch so it untwists.
Yeah, but some people do have struggles. I struggle a lot with it, but then I decided I don't care. So if I twist my 2 balls of yarns together when I'm knitting color work, after a while I might stop.
You can always put your knitting down.
Yeah, I put my knitting down, and then I grab the balls and I lift the whole thing, and then I pull them apart, and then the whole thing goes around like a helicopter.
Yeah.
And then that's how I untwist it. Some people do say that when they knit with 1 yarn in each hand, that they can separate them from each other like that. And that's a good thing if you can do it. But I don't think I would be able to do it. Sometimes, when I'm into my knitting too much, everything, I forget about everything. And then even if, because I'm not there, I'm relaxing, I'm knitting, it's on autopilot, and then you just don't think about it, and then you end up twisting them. So I think that whole thing is a problem. There is no method that is proven to work 100%, unless, like Arne, you have a partner who you can force to sit down
Sit on the other
for
side
1.5 hours and keep your balls separated at all times. If you
That didn't sound nice.
well, the knitting balls.
Keep your balls separate.
We're talking about knitting balls here. So anyway, if you have that, then there is a great way to keep your balls apart. But if you don't have that, I don't know really. You could try my way of just lifting the 2 balls and pulling and doing the helicopter thing, or you can try Arne's.
But I don't think it shouldn't be a big problem. I think no matter how you knit, if you do color work, the yarn will always twist a little bit.
Yeah.
So just put your knitting down and unwrap the yarn. It's as easy as that.
So let's talk a little bit about main color as well, because if people are looking at the screen, they might be noticing, you're looking at the hat, and you see that the main color is the gray that is on the bottom, and then you've got the blue, which are the accents, and that's the pattern. And then like now, for example, you've got the blue color over the finger.
Yeah, I switch all the time.
And then sometimes you have the main color, which is the main color if you look at the knitting, and you put that on the finger. And in Norway, we just want to tell you that in Norway, we don't actually differentiate between the main color, which in this case would be the gray one, and because that's the one there is the most of, and then the blue is the pattern color. What we do in Norway is we look at the round, the specific round or row. We look at the pattern, and then we determine what color we will be using the most of. So in a round, half of the round might be so that you're going to knit more stitches in the gray.
Then the gray is on the finger, on
and then
the left side.
Yeah, and then you just throw in the blue one whenever you need it. But suddenly, in that same row, there may be a shift.
Yeah, and then they change place.
And suddenly you see that you're going to be knitting more blue. So what you do is you shift and you put the blue over the finger, and then you throw in the gray when you need. Sometimes a row is specifically like that. There is more of the gray. Sometimes a row will have more of the blue.
Yeah.
So you shift. Now the question is, like the second row, Arne, when you have 1 gray, 1 blue, 1 gray, 1 blue. What do you do there? You can pick, right?
I pick whatever.
You can do half the row with the gray, and then you can do half the row with the blue.
And like when you work on a short circular like this, every now and then you have to let the yarn go, and you have to pull the stitches so you can knit, because it's like a few stitches on a short needle. And then when you pick up the yarn again, it doesn't matter which one you pick, you put on your finger.
Yeah.
It makes no difference, because it should look the same anyway.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter how the yarn goes on the back or which way it comes into the knit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Looks like you're going backwards a little bit.
Oh, sometimes, because it's really hard to talk and knit.
Yeah.
But I thought you wouldn't see it.
Well, I saw it just, but yeah, I mean, I just wanted to mention it quickly that at some points you're going backwards, but it's probably because your rhythm is being disturbed by me.
It's really hard when you talk and knit and count at the same time, and on this short rounds, it's like 48 stitches, I think it is, and 48 stitches, and it goes so quick. So suddenly you're in the rhythm, and whoops, you went by your round, and you start over again, like with the same.
Exactly, because you're supposed to be doing now 2 2 1 2 2, but you were doing 2 1 3 2 1 3.
Probably something like that. Yeah.
Anyway, back to the whole putting the yarn over your finger and then throwing in the other color. Just to conclude, just to close that topic. Norwegians like even stitches, and by alternating the so-called main color over the finger, so the one that you are knitting the most stitches with at that given time, is a great way to achieve equally tight stitches, because the yarn will be over the hand either blue or gray at some point.
Yeah.
So you won't be knitting all the gray stitches in one way and all the blue stitches in one way fixated. It will alternate.
And it makes no difference which way you bring the yarn into the knitting. And it makes no difference on the back if the floats go over or under. Because it's what you see on the front that counts. And in Norway, and I guess in Scandinavia, as we said, like having a nice tension is the most important thing.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how you do it, as long as it looks good. And I was thinking, should we tell something about the cruise we're going to?
Yeah, we will. Yeah, but before that, let me just a final closing word, and then we can talk about the cruise. So, just to be specific, this is points of view of Norwegian knitting. So there's other knittings from other parts of the world, and we've even been to Peru, where they are great knitters, and they knit differently in Peru, and they knit differently in the Shetlands, and they knit differently in Portugal. So. This is the Norwegian point of view, and this is the Norwegian way of doing it, and it's not the only way, and it's not the right way, and so there's many other ways to do it. So yeah, the cruise.
Yeah, we're going on a cruise, and that is so cool. So, and I think we should talk about it, because it's still possible to join the cruise.
Yeah, okay, so to start with, Arne and
I... You know more about it, you should talk about it.
Well, Arne and I, we are anti-cruise.
What's that?
We don't like cruises.
No, not like the cruise where you go dancing and drinking and playing these casinos. So
yeah, we don't like those.
Not that kind
we
of
don't like those cruises where we would be on a boat, right? And then we wouldn't be doing anything particular. We'd just be going from one port to another, and it all looks the same.
That's like when you just go on the boat to do some shopping in another place, and you get drunk and you dress up and you have dinner in the.
Yeah, it's not a cruise like that. It's not, because this is very important to say. It's not that kind of cruise, which has no purpose. We are going on the Norwegian Coastal Express, as they call it, Hurtigruten. And Hurtigruten is called one of the most beautiful sea journeys in the world, because it goes from the south of Norway, it starts in Bergen, and in 6 days it goes up all the way to Kirkenes. Now, you may think, oh, but that sounds like a cruise. And you're kind of, in a way, you're right. It is kind of a cruise, but historically and culturally, this is the lifeline of Norway. Because if you look at Norway in a map, you'll see a very long and narrow country with an enormous coastline. It's huge. And the thing about our part of the world is that from south to north, the population decreases. There's less and less and less people living. There's bigger and bigger distances to places. We've got all these massive fjords that separate areas. You've got, in a map, you can see 2 towns that are supposedly close by, but then you have a huge fjord in between, which means you have to either drive around the fjord or get in it with a boat. So even if Hurtigruten is now, today, also a cruise, it fills a very important function in the Norwegian coast. It connects one town to the other, or one port to the other. It's where the post goes. So the post is sent by Hurtigruten. It's where people get their deliveries. 34 ports of call from Bergen to Kirkenes and then back down again. Some places, when the boat comes in, it's actually because the place, it's got a supermarket and it doesn't even have a liquor store, right? So those places, people will go on board the boat because the boat will probably be in the port for an hour. People will board the boat. They will have coffee there, cakes. They will play some cards, right? We're talking about local people. And just before the boat leaves, they'll get off. And that's their cafe. That's their trip to the local cafe, the boat. So you're a tourist because nowadays they've got cabins and it's all very luxurious and you can do it as a cruise, but you're still mixing with the local people. And they encourage you as well to look out your window and see the life, see what happens when you get into a port, how they offload things, how they upload things, how the local communities interact with the people on the boat. It's spectacular. We did it in 2007 for the first time. At that time, we were going to design the uniforms for the whole crew, for the whole line. Unfortunately, the financial crisis came and they were struggling, so we didn't do it in the end. But we got a wonderful trip out of it. Yeah. And when they asked us if we want to do a knitting event on board Hurtigruten, we say, of course, what do we say, Arne?
Thank you.
We can. Oh yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I think I said okay. So when do we pack? When do we go?
Yeah, when do we go?
Yeah.
But you have to tell when it is, because if people watch this video in 2020, it's probably gone. So this is this year to 2000 and
yeah. So
how do you say that? 2018.
2018.
2018.
Yeah. So the departure of the boat that we are going to be in is on September 28th, 2018. If you want to get information about this, head over to the blog. We're doing a blog post on this. Again, you can search by writing the words Norwegian Coastal Express. Write that on the search engine and it will pop up and you'll get all the information. If you are a knitter who has always dreamed about taking this cruise, or this boat trip. I'd rather call it a boat trip than a cruise, to be honest.
It's more like a very nice boat trip.
Or a voyage. Let's call it a voyage. That's the way to do it. Yeah. So if you've always dreamed of taking this voyage, and if it is on your bucket list, and if you have decided you're gonna take it, and if you're a knitter and you want to meet us, you should do it now. Go on September 28th and take this amazing journey from the south of Norway to the north. We're not going to be doing too many workshops because that would kill the whole experience. We're going to be doing a couple of workshops, I think maybe one, and we're going to be doing a lecture, but we're going to be there and it's all about enjoying the surroundings.
You know, just being there, that's the nice thing, because you can just sit in front of the boat in these nice chairs.
And in the observation deck.
Yeah, and you can knit while you see all this beautiful nature passing by.
It's the most spectacular scenery you will ever see in this part of the world, and
it's really nice. And like when we were there, we talked to people who on the cruise, and they said it was so relaxing and it was really hard not just to sit down and stare at.
I stared. You know what? I remember staring at the majestic nature. You know, this is a very dramatic coast. It's the Atlantic Ocean, and you've got these mountains that crash down into the sea, and it is just beautiful. And it's so empty. You know, the further into the north you go, the less people you'll see, and you'll start seeing the difference. And when you travel slowly, like this, you know, on a boat, it really shows. You see from hour to hour how things change.
It's a big difference from Bergen, and when you come up to the north, to Kirkenes, you can see like the whole way up, the nature is changing all the time. So it's really beautiful.
Yeah. So we'll be on the boat.
We'll be on the boat and we will knit with you.
Yeah. September 28th, 2018 is the departure from Bergen. 6 days later, on October 4th, we will reach Kirkenes, which is a town which is bordering to Russia. And this is going to be a voyage that knitters might want to share with each other and with us. And we can promise you, there's a lot of things we can't promise you, but one thing we can promise you is it is a spectacular journey that will change your view of Norway forever. I have to say, because we have traveled all over our own country for work, but the time when I really fell in love with Norway, the time when I fell head over heels in love with Norway, was when I took this boat in 2007. So I personally, I can't wait.
We should post some pictures from that time on Instagram or
Yeah,
Facebook.
I think we're posting it on the blog.
Post so people can see how some of the pictures from that time.
Yeah.
When we were young and we were on the trip.
So ever wanted to take the cruise? Are you a knitter? Have you decided that you will do it at some point? I think that you've got a great opportunity to do it now with other people that share your interest. You'll meet new people there, make new friends, enjoy the spectacular scenery, hang out with us.
And bring your knitting, bring a good jacket, a warm sweater, and some good shoes, and just...
And long johns and a big hat.
Long johns and a big hat, and
Yeah.
just knit all the way from Bergen to Kirkenes.
Yeah. And then end of September, when we leave on the boat, so end of September might be already then, there may be possibilities for the Aurora Borealis in the north.
Probably, I
Maybe.
don't know.
I mean, that one we can't guarantee because the Aurora Borealis is very fickle, and it comes whenever she wants to come and show herself, and it's not every day she's in the mood. But already in that time of the year, in early October, in the north of Norway, you probably can see glimpses of the Aurora Borealis. But you know what? We can't say that because you can't go to the cruise line afterwards and demand your money back if you didn't see it.
No.
So we can't guarantee it, but there may be.
But we can tell you a little bit about how we knit in Norway. And they have nice food, and they have
Seafood. The
nice,
best seafood.
The seafood is good.
Yeah.
So I'm finishing the pattern now.
Yeah.
That was quick.
That was really quick. I mean, but that's what happens. Time really flies when you're having an enjoyable conversation and talking about, all these things that are happening in our life right now. I mean, we've got so much to look forward to. We've got the cruise. Or the journey. No, remember, we called it the journey. We've got the voyage. We've got the voyage. We've got the voyage to look forward to.
And do we put a link for that somewhere if people want to come?
No, they have to go on the blog. That's the best way.
No, the blog. That's
for the voyage,
yeah.
Go to the blog.
Go to the blog.
And remember, we're talking about February. We're now in February 2008. And we're talking about September 2008.
Yeah. Yes. And we have other news. Don't we have... Should we talk about what we did? When was that? We went to England.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Was it last week?
Yeah. I mean, so much happening in our lives. As we said, the voyage in September is one thing. And then all the skiing that we're doing and all the shoveling of snow that is keeping us nice and healthy and fit and ready to go.
And with my short memory, I can hardly remember when we did things.
But
it was last week.
It was, Arne. Last week we did something amazing. Well, yeah, I mean, it was pretty good because we've been also looking forward to this for a very long time. We've already mentioned it before, and we're kind of letting the cat out of the bag a little bit. But again, we are creating images in your mind because we're talking about things that you can't really see. So, and we have mentioned that we have been working with Regia for a very long time, designing sock yarns. And Rowan Yarns is another company that belongs to the same umbrella of companies that are under the same ownership as Regia. So Rowan is the next big thing for us. And that's where the next big news is. We've just designed our first collection for Rowan. And we are now, and this is what the top management over at Rowan said to me, and I almost had some tears in my eyes when they said, "You're part of the Rowan family now. You are Rowan designers, and you're part of a great family of people." And working with this collection, Arne, don't you feel like we've kind of come home in a way?
In a way, yeah, it was really nice. I think it was like the photo shoot we did in England. That's one of the best photo shoots we've ever done. It's like It was,
and it's not because of us, huh? That's what I mean.
No, the people in Rowan and the people in the team, they were so good and really professional. And you know, sometimes you do these things and you don't know what's happening at all. It's like everything is chaos. But this time it was so easy and so well organized.
Yeah.
So it was really great, and we got this dream come true thing.
Yeah. So before we talk about that dream, though, what I meant about coming home, because I feel that with Rowan we're home. I feel that our style, our design style, fits Rowan, and Rowan fits us because of the point of views that we have, the way we see design, the way we see things, match each other so well. So I really feel like we're home with Rowan. And yeah, the team in Rowan, the technical team is probably the best technical team that we've worked with so far in our career.
I think they were really, really clever. It's like you made a drawing and they made exactly what was on the drawing.
Yeah.
It was, and that's not always that happens.
So being part of the Rowan team, it has been very gratifying for us. And I think that when you people get to see the collection, when you get to see the magazine, and when you get to see the designs and the styling and the atmosphere in the images, I think it's going to show. It's going to show that we've really been enjoying ourselves and that we really feel like we're in our element there. And you know what?
Talk about element. We went to this country house. That's my element.
Whoa, that's my element too.
That's really my element.
Okay, so we are Anglophile.
Yeah, if we haven't been living on the top of a mountain in Norway, we would probably live in England. Yeah. Because we love England.
We'd have a lovely little cottage in the south of England, and it would have roses, and we'd prune our roses every day.
Or we had an awfully expensive country house with so many rooms that we can get lost. Isn't that nice?
Yeah, and then we'd have tea every afternoon, which is something we love.
But not those scones or what they call
them. Oh, I love
them.
the scones as well.
I can't eat it. I think they're horrible.
But yeah, it is. We're not making fun of English now.
No, but I don't like the scone.
We are 100% Anglophile.
I love England.
We adore England. We adore the eccentricity of the people in England. I think that a lot of people in England are. Actually, UK, let's say the whole general Great Britain, people are themselves in an eccentric kind of crazy way that I love. I love the way they are. We love everything about the culture in the UK, in Britain. It's just phenomenal. And then, of course, we're fascinated by the whole stately homes and Downton Abbey kind of thing with all these beautiful houses and all these traditions and all the things that you can see everywhere. It's incredible. So we do a lot of holidaying in England or in the UK. We go there, rent cars, drive on the other side of the road like crazy.
That's scary, but it's also funny. It's like you get this adrenaline kick of being on the wrong side of the road. And this time I was a little bit sad because we spent only 2 nights. So I got into the driving and then we had to go home. Yeah. Because when you're first over there, you could stay for a week or something.
Absolutely, yeah. And this is what we do. We go on holidays there, renting cars, visiting stately homes and gardens, and just getting inspiration and interacting with the British, who we really love. We think that I like it when people are, especially the old generation in the UK. I mean, you meet all these lovely elderly gentlemen and ladies or women, and they're also I don't know, they're also themselves. They're eccentric and they're really themselves, and they're lovely to chat with. You know, you talk about the weather, you talk about roses, you talk about quilting or crochet or whatever, and we meet a lot of them in the stately homes that we visit. Usually they are National Trust properties, and they're all volunteers. And I think that the highlight of going into a National Trust property, aside from seeing all the beautiful things, is talking to these lovely ladies and gentlemen who are standing in the rooms. You know, like they're standing there looking, making sure that nobody touches anything, but they're also so nice. And when you talk to them, they'll tell you things, and then you'll tell them that, we're Norwegian, and then they'll say something like, from the war, because Norway did this or that, or they have experience because of some connection between Norway and the UK from that time. So it's really cool.
Should I tell something about what I'm doing now? If you see, I'm changing needles again. because when I started the decreasing, I like to put the work on 4 needles, because then I don't have to think that much, and I don't have to pull the string, because when you decrease you get fewer stitches on the string. So for me it's more practical to use 5 needles, and then I know that I decrease on every second round, in the beginning and in the end of each needle. So that's why I'm changing needles now. It makes it more easy.
Makes it easier. But if you're afraid of double pointed needles, and some people are afraid of them, then you can just change to, or you just keep them on circulars, I suppose.
I'm afraid of snakes. Big poisonous snakes.
Yeah, but some people are
That's
afraid
what
of
I'm
needles.
Afraid of. How can you be afraid of a needle?
Well, I'm afraid of electricity, Arne. I'm terrified of electricity.
I know. Every time we're in foreign countries with different plugs, I'm always the one who have to put the charger or anything in the plug, because you're afraid of it.
I'm terrified of electricity. So people have their quirks.
But a double pointed needle won't suddenly pop out of the knitting and poke your eye or something. They're not that dangerous.
No, but
so you shouldn't be afraid of double pointed needles.
And what about electricity?
Well, it can be dangerous sometimes.
Yeah, and you could poke your eye out with a needle as well. No, but what I think people mean when they say they're afraid of them is that they make them nervous because there's so many of them, and they just they could fall off. I know you think it's crazy.
Yeah,
but
if there's like a lot of snakes in the garden, that would be scary.
Yeah, and I'm not afraid of snakes at all, but I'm terrified of electricity. So that's the way we're all different, and we all have our things. Yeah. Anyway, we were talking about Rowan, and then we digressed, and now we're talking about snakes. So anyway,
talk about the nice house.
Back to the stately homes that we love going to. So when we were working with Rowan, we designed the collection for Rowan, and Rowan gave us free hands, which is amazing, really. I mean, that's a dream job, really, when they say you can do whatever you want, and we do whatever we want. And then they also let us art direct the whole thing. So talking about our ideas, how we wanted the photo shoot done, the styling, and then of course, because it's very important to give credit where credit is due, it's not Arne and Carlos, it's Arne and Carlos and Rowan, and it's a whole team of people. And then it's a team effort. We're just a small part of a bigger whole, basically. And there's this team of people who are spectacular, doing great job in the technical department. There's the styling department, makeup, hair, and of course they asked us about location questions. Where would we like to shoot this? And of course we said a stately home, obviously, in England.
What else can you ask for?
Well, what else can you ask for? And our hope was that we were going to be doing it in a stately home where the lady of the manor would be one of those eccentric, quirky ladies who we love to death, and who would say to us, you can go in whichever room you like. And guess what?
We did.
That's exactly what we got.
We saw every single room, and they were so beautiful.
Yeah, and the lady of the manor said that you can go wherever you want, but just be aware that some rooms might be messy. And that's when we started smiling, because we thought, oh, the better.
We know mess. It's like, we know how messy looks.
Yeah. And then we went into the attics.
We're not afraid of mess.
No, not at all.
Not at all. And the attics, that was really nice. We didn't take any pictures in the attics, but
you did. You took a picture of the quilt.
The model. But we saw a nice.
Oh yeah. You mean with the the photo shoot?
No, but we saw a nice quilt and a nice ragdoll
up in the attics. Yeah.
So we took pictures, but that's for us.
Yeah.
That's private.
Yeah, we didn't take pictures of the model.
And we're not gonna post pictures from this house. Like, you don't take pictures in another person's house and post them on.
No, well, no, except for the official photographs.
Only the official ones, but this is ours.
Yeah, those are our private ones.
Secret.
But you can all look forward to a beautiful shoot done in a very beautiful stately home.
Like in a mansion.
In Kent. It was beautiful.
And this house felt so crowded when we came home.
You mean our house?
It's so tiny. So I'm going to call the carpenter now, because we need more rooms. We need a mansion.
We can't, Arne, that's never going to happen. We live in a tiny train station made of wood.
Yeah, you can put like an extra room.
Well, you can't add that much.
You can add in the height. You can put an extra floor.
I don't think they'll let us, to be honest. And I'm thinking about how much that would cost.
Well,
you know, we'll never live in a stately home, and you just have to get used to that idea that we won't. And you know what? I think it's good. We go to England or the UK, or you know, we go to Scotland, we go to Wales, whatever. See these beautiful places. We can dream about it.
And
but you know
very
what?
Inspiring.
You know what? We can have this romantic view. We can dream about it. We can walk into these rooms where everything happens by itself. They're always spotless. And then we can walk around in the gardens where everything's in bloom and everything's perfect and it's spotless.
And we
then we can go home. And we don't need to think about how are we going to afford to keep this house up?
That's probably very
How are
expensive.
we going to afford to heat it?
Yeah.
How are we going to afford the 12 gardeners that need to keep the garden?
That's true.
You know, those houses are from another era. They're made in a time when there was a lot of people in the United Kingdom that were employed as servants. And those houses were made to keep people employed.
Some
and
of these houses were like small towns.
Yeah, they were.
So
They were
many...
cities in themselves. And nowadays, a modern family doesn't need that anymore. We have all the modern appliances. We live in smaller houses. Everything's more efficient. Nowadays, I mean, like you have the kitchen, the living room, and the dining room in the same room. You don't have to go, 3 stories from the kitchens to the dining room and walk for 15 minutes with the food anymore.
But I can still call the carpenter because it's nice. I can always talk to the carpenter. It's like, what's the possibilities?
You can talk to the
how
carpenter.
much can we build up in the how many floors can we have in the wooden house? I like to walk around in rooms and get lost.
Okay, go ahead. Talk to the carpenters as much as you want. But we'll see what happens. I think that realistically speaking, we are doing an extension to the house. I mean, we have that planned and approved, and we're going to build a bathroom and a bedroom. But apart from that, I think that's the only extension we'll ever get here.
But you see, that extension started with 1 room in 1 floor. And then we got this idea that why don't build 2 floors? So we changed the drawing. Sorry, and now we're making 2 floors.
Yeah, but I think that's...
So what about doing the 3rd floor? And a tower. I want to have a tower. I want to sit in a tower, and I want to have like windows in every direction, and then I can sit with my knitting and just watch the view, and then I might get lost on my way down. That's nice.
You know what? I think I'm going to just finish this part of the conversation by saying that luckily, dreaming is free.
Okay.
Dreaming is for free, and you can dream as much as you want, and it doesn't cost anything. And you never know. I mean, maybe one day we'll be able to afford a tower. And maybe that day that we are able to afford the tower, the council will say that we've changed the regulations so that you guys can build your tower. And we're very happy for you to do it. You never know. Things happen for a reason. Yeah. And maybe one day we will have a tower, but in the meantime,
we can be members of National Trust, and we can go to all these nice places.
And we can make sure.
Dream.
Yeah, and we can make sure to book more photo shoots with Rowan in other stately homes, and keep doing what we're doing. And as long as Rowan's happy, as long as people are happy knitting our designs for Rowan, and as long as we're happy with doing all of this, the possibilities are endless. I mean, how many stately homes do you think there are in the UK?
There's a lot. I think you can go on a holiday in UK for forever. Because there's always new stuff to see.
I think probably thousands and thousands of stately homes. Don't you think?
Yeah.
I mean, it feels like it.
Like for going on a holiday, I think for me, number 1 is UK. And number 2 is Mexico. And
then Italy is somewhere there as well.
Italy and Peru. Okay, that's my top 4.
I agree. I like France as well, though.
And France is also nice. And one day I want to go to what's it called again? Kamchatka? No.
No.
Arkhangelsk.
Oh yeah, to see the wooden.
Archangelsk in Russia.
To see the wooden churches.
I want to see the wooden churches because they're so beautiful and they're falling down. A lot of them are falling down. So I want to see the wooden churches.
But from the point of view of your favorite places, which are also my favorite places, I think that they're places like Mexico and Peru have wonderful crafts that are handmade, right?
And so Mexico has a terrible, what do you call it, rykte? Reputation. A lot of people don't dare to go to.
But it's nice.
But Mexico is wonderful.
Yeah, and what we love about Mexico and Peru are the crafts, because they do so many beautiful things in both countries. I mean, there's a lot of knitting going on in Peru. People in Peru and in Mexico, they really have this fine arts to them. They are fine artists that make beautiful things. And if you think about it, France and Italy are also countries with beautiful things. People there are aesthetic. They are their disposition is towards the aesthetics. There's so many beautiful things coming out of Italy. There's so many beautiful things coming out of France. I think that, the countries that are our favorite to travel offer us very interesting visual stimulation. And we can see beautiful things that are made in France and made in Italy. And I mean, also England, UK, Great Britain have beautiful traditions that we also enjoy. So I think that that's one of the things when we travel to these countries that appeals to us, is all that put together in a package.
Now I'm finishing my hat. So now soon we have to stop talking.
We do.
Because I'm just taking off the needles.
Oh yeah, you're decreasing and decreasing.
I have finished my decreasing and I am pulling the yarn through the last stitches, and then I just will pull the thread to, to close the hole.
Yeah. And then I think, we've been having such a lovely conversation, and we still haven't talked about that sweater that we're seeing underneath your chart.
I forgot everything.
Yeah, so you know what? Let's prolong this a little bit longer. I mean, usually we'd probably finish by showing you the hat, but by showing people, you guys, the hat. But why don't we turn the hat inside out afterwards? Show people the floats.
I can sew the tails, loose ends.
How about you sew the loose ends, and that will give us a little extra time to talk about that beautiful sweater at the end.
So this is the finished hat, and you see when you pull the hat, the stitches fall in place, so they have all the same size. So I'm happy with my tension.
It's beautiful, Arne. I think the hat is nice. I wouldn't actually call this an Arne Carlos design. I would call this
a
traditional Norwegian hat from Zachrison, and then we put together a chart for you guys. And in a sense, it is kind of our design because we put the chart together from our heads, but it's a traditional design with an X and an O. It's one of the most simple but most iconic Norwegian designs.
And there's so many versions of the X and the O. The X's can have like 3 lines or 2 lines or one simple line and one double line. And the O's they can be like this, very simple, or they can have a lot of dots inside. So there's so many versions.
We can talk about traditional Norwegian knitting from Zachrison forever, and that could be a very interesting podcast, don't you think? I mean, if you're interested in a podcast where we talk about traditional knitting and give you a lot of facts, please put that in the comments field and let us know. We would love to do that if people are interested in listening. What I want to talk to you about is that sweater that we're seeing underneath your chart, because that is a very special sweater. If you look at it, it has the traditional Norwegian X and an O, but it's a very modern piece. Don't you agree?
Yeah.
It's very, very, very current. It's very, very modern.
It's from the 50s, this one, and the volumes from the 50s, they're so modern again. They're really nice, and we also like the mix of the traditional patterns and the graphic patterns.
Yeah. And obviously we know it's from the 50s because it's from a German magazine, Burda, from 1950.
We have the magazine.
But if we wouldn't have known it was from the 50s, we could have easily identified it as a sweater from the 50s, because this is a time when you know, a lot of interesting things happened in design. Not only in knitting design, but you know, all kinds of design.
All kinds.
If you think about all the mid-century design that is incredible that you have in furniture, you've got graphic design and clothing as well. The 50s was a very creative era where a lot of experimentation was done.
Yeah.
And we as designers today, we look to the 50s because that's when everything was tested and tried and done. So you know the expression "been there, done that." A cool designer in the 50s invented that. And nowadays, you know, they've done everything, so we can't really make up anything new anymore because it was all done in the 50s, right?
Mm.
And one of the great ways of working in the 50s in knitwear was combining the traditional patterns with modern graphics. And you can see that clearly in this sweater that you have there.
Yeah.
The way that you've got this very traditional X and O pattern, and then it's kind of alternated with a really nice graphic line, and then you've got a very modern kind of shape to the sweater. It's a bit loose and it's a bit longer, and it's just gorgeous. And if you wear that sweater today, it would be contemporary and it would be today. So it's timeless. It's a timeless piece. It's no longer a traditional piece. It's timeless.
And now you can see my floats when I'm sewing the loose ends.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the floats.
Yeah, and the floats can be sewn in many ways. Arne is going up and down.
No, the tail, the loose ends can be sewn in.
Yeah, sorry, the loose ends can be done in many ways. Arne is going up and down vertically. I tend to go more horizontally, and I tend to go into the stitches from the inside, back and forth. It doesn't really matter how you do it.
No, the most important thing is that the yarn isn't popping out.
Yeah, and the trick with floats is that once you've woven them in, when you finish doing the hat, you turn it again to the regular side. You go get a cloth or a piece of fabric. You wet it all through. Put that wet fabric over the hat. Take your iron, heat it up, press that iron onto the hat onto the wet fabric. Of course, the wet fabric is between the hat and the iron. Steam it, and the steam will actually catch the threads inside the knitting, and they will stay there. It will stabilize. Remember though, under no circumstances should you ever do that on the rib. If you put the wet cloth on the rib and steam the rib, it will expand. So do not do that. And make sure that the cloth, the fabric, the wet fabric that you're putting is just over the rib.
Yeah, and I have to say, if you look at my floats, I can tell if the blue went over the gray or under the gray, because we don't think about these things.
No, it doesn't really matter to us.
You're not going to look at the inside and try to figure out which way it went. It's the outside that counts, and you can't see on the outside which way the floats go.
Yeah, and
there you can see a little bit of the sweater.
And here you can see a little bit of the sweater. And here you can see a little bit more.
And the hat is, I think the tension is fine on this.
Yeah.
And was a little bit. Yeah, look, when I stretch, it fall in place, and it should look machine knitted. So
this is a traditional Norwegian hat, chunky yet funky. Let's say that, and it's ready to go. And we can just put this on and go skiing again.
That's it. Finished.